Hello, good afternoon. You've tuned into Your Stocks, coming live from CNBC-TV18 Motilal Oswal Studios. I'm Vinny Motiwala. Thank you so much for tuning in. A quick look at what the market is doing, managing to hold on to the 23,600 levels. As of now, 1.4% uptick is what we're seeing coming in for the Nifty 50, almost near the day's highest point and still inching up a bit more as well as in terms of a move that we're seeing. Broader market, that also continues to do well. A slight bit of an outperformance versus the benchmark indices for the broader markets. Nifty mid-cap holding on to gains of 1.6%, small cap also holding on to gains around of those 1.6% to 1.8% in that range. So surely keeping an eye out on the Nifty mid-cap as well as a small cap. Advanced decline ratio today clearly in the favor of advances versus declines that we've seen. So yes, advanced decline ratio also on the green side. Nifty Bank, that's the outperformer today. Nifty Bank is holding on to 51,600 levels above that mark, 2% uptick on that front, and Nifty Bank is obviously the top gainer coming in terms of a sector performance. Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, all of them have been buzzing in trade today. We have all the sectors as of now that are managing to hold on to that green, so nothing on the red side today. Just a few stocks maybe on the broader end of the market that are trading in the red. But yes, that's how the market setup is looking like as of now. But this is a show where we solve all your stock related queries, and to solve all of that we have our experts joining in with us. Today we have Ashish Kyal, chartered market technician and author at Wave Strategies Advisors, as well as Gaurang Shah of Geojit Financial Services joining in with us to talk to us about the markets, what are the stock related queries that you all have sent us. They'll be answering all of that. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining in with us on the show as always. Ashish, we're seeing this gain continue since the last week. Do you think this momentum will sustain through the week this time, or maybe some bit of an up and down that we're watching out for in terms of the markets this week?
Hi, afternoon to you and all the viewers. If you look at the weekly chart and if you look at the last week candle, it has been one of the biggest candles that we saw on the upside since the top of 26,000. So that is suggesting that there is some kind of a meaningful low that the markets have already formed, and we are rallying up on the maybe towards the level of 24,000 or higher. Having said that, over short term, the indicators are overbought. So it's prudent that we have to wait for some kind of a dip. This is one of the steepest rise that we can clearly see in many, many months. And it's prudent to wait for a dip towards the level of 23,400, 23,300 again to enter fresh positions. From the current level, do not try to catch a top here. The rise has been steep and fast, violent. Many call writers have burnt their fingers on the upside. So I think it is buy on dips market from here on. Do not try to catch a top. Use the dip toward 23,300 as a buying opportunity, and we might be headed cross 24,000 mark.
Okay, keep an eye out on that. But let's move on and get started with the queries for today. The first query is coming in from Bonnie Joshi, who's writing to us from New Delhi. He's holding 90 shares of Bandhan Bank. This is at a price of 180 rupees per share. He's asking if he needs to be worried about the accounting probe that the bank has faced recently. Obviously, he's making some bit of a loss on this one. Stock is currently trading at 147. Gaurang, I'm going to take this across to you because somewhere around in Feb also, I think there was some commentary that came in that the management, wanted to shift more towards that secured loan side as well. The MFI concerns that were there, they're trying to allude to that side. But your thoughts on Bandhan Bank, and should the viewer be worried about the situation?
Well, thank you, Vinny, for having me on the show, and good afternoon to all of you all. Bandhan Bank, there has been another issue with the earnings front other than the MFI segment. They had news flows, top-notch level designated person had to resign. We had a new person coming in. And of course, the MFI exposure is not only limited to Bandhan Bank. We had issues with the other bank also. Having said that, we do have an accumulate stance on Bandhan Bank. Now, the problem with this trade is the investment level of 180. This is a concern because our price target is somewhere close to about 186 and the stock is trading at about 147 or thereabouts. Well, the quantity or the number of share is about 90 odd. That is what I just read on the slide that was there before this one. It would be prudent to accumulate a little bit more, add a little bit more, not at current levels, but maybe closer to 145 or closer to about 140. Even at this level, if the investor has a little bit of high risk appetite, it can average a little bit so that the acquisition cost comes down. but don't average the entire quantity. You can add small quantities, and as and when the stock moves closer to 145 and below, you can add a little bit more so that your investment level comes down, and post that, from a long term point of view, you can get a profitable exit. But earnings are very, very volatile as far as Bandhan Bank is concerned. That's a prudent thing to note.
Okay, so surely keep an eye on that important factor there as well, when you're looking at investing in Bandhan Bank. Ashish, on the charts and technicals, Bandhan Bank, what's the story playing out there, right? Because last 6 months, around a 20%, 29 to 30% decline that we've seen. Last 1 year also, not a great performance. Anything on the charts that is indicating a positive up move?
Yes, if you look at the charts, there was support around 137 from where the stock managed to bounce back. It is now attempting to fill the gap which was created on 10th of March. And having said that, I think there is a possibility the stock can move on the higher side towards 160 odd levels. So the overall undertone on the chart is positive despite of the negative news. The stock is managing to sustain there. So 160 is what one can play for over short term. And on the downside, maintain a strict stop loss of 140 levels.
Okay, keep an eye out on those levels over there on the technical front as well for Bandhan Bank. Let's move on. And this next query, we have a caller query. We have Ravi Prakash, who's joining in with us from Bangalore. Ravi, afternoon, and go on with your query. What is it on?
Good afternoon, madam. Madam, I have 400 shares of Shriram Finance bought around 585. I'm looking for a long term. Is it a right to invest, to be in this stock for a long term?
Sure. Okay. Gaurang, I'm going to take this to you. The viewer has bought this at 585, currently at 686. For the long term, should they continue to hold Shriram Finance? And, could they look to add some more as well? What is your view?
Recommended, Vinny, but provided you get it at lower level. No point averaging at a price wherein your cost of investment goes up. So, possibly at lower level. And we've seen NBFCs and finance stock rally a little bit. Not at current levels, but possibly on dips, you can definitely average. We have a buy call on Shriram Finance. And we at Geojit also believe, Vinny, that banking and finance, not only for the fourth quarter that we'll be witnessing from 10th April onwards, but also for the next couple of quarters, banking and finance should report very strong numbers, which will possibly have its impact on targets getting revised upwards. So I would advise a hold and average below, at lower levels possible you can average, is what I would recommend.
Okay, so you're expecting, positive signs coming in terms of numbers for NBFCs and Shriram Finance also going forward. So will be interesting to watch out for not only in Q4 but going forward as well. On the technicals, what is your view coming in, Ashish? What is the suggestion? Continue to hold this one for the long term for the viewer?
Yes, just as a disclaimer, we do have holdings on Shriram Finance in the personal account as well. And the overall tone for this financial sector as a whole, if you look at it, it is bullish because the leaders that are emerging in the past, when there was a sharp fall in the overall broader market, we can clearly see financial sector as a whole did not collapse. And this is the stock and the sector which is now running on the upside as soon as Nifty has started recovering. So overall undertone is bullish. The sector is supporting, and Shriram Finance stock overall looks to be very good. We can expect it to go towards the level of around 900 from a year's perspective. And on the downside, the support for the stock is around 610.
Okay, support 610, 900 levels is what one could watch out for also. I hope that answered your query, Ravi, but thank you so much for calling us and sending us your queries as well. Let's move on, and the next query for today, we have Ramandeep Singh, who's writing to us from Karnal, and he's holding 30 shares of LIC. Price is 615 rupees per share. Wants to know if he should remain invested in LIC for... they've not mentioned the period, but if you could give your view both, Gaurang, for long-term as well as short-term LIC. Given that, the last week we've seen so much happen in the insurance space, so much is changing there as well. So LIC as a bet, what did you say?
So, it has been an interesting sector. Unfortunately, Vinny, the performance was not up to the mark. And most of the time in this rally that we've seen over the last couple of years, this sector tried to perform, but somewhere it was a sideways performer. Having said that, we have a buy recommendation on LIC, that is Life Insurance Corporation of India. A major change and shift we are witnessing is the approach of individuals towards an insurance product, not as a tax saving product, but also a product which can financially have backing for the dependence that you have in case if something has to happen to you. What we've also seen, Vinny, is that the sum assured is going up, and so is the insurance outgo, which translates into positive insurance premium inflows for insurance companies. Targets for LIC is in excess of 1,000 plus. So if you're a long-term investor, stay invested.
1,000 plus for LIC is the target, and a long-term investor. That's the long-term investor view coming in. Your view on this one, Ashish, are you also expecting to come back to those 1,000 plus levels? By when? What are the other targets that you're keeping an eye out on?
Yes, Vinny, and if you look at a lot has happened over the past 2 weeks, not only with LIC, but the entire market as a whole. A lot changed in just a week's time. So LIC has also showed a very smart recovery from the lows of 730 and now quoting at around 800, 805 levels. The overall undertone looks to have changed on the upside. The near-term target for the stock is going to be around 900. And yes, I do concur that it can eventually cross 1,000 levels as well. So the tone is bullish as long as the support on the downside, which is around 760 level, remains intact.
Okay, keep an eye out on those levels over there for LIC. Let's move on and talk about the next query. Then we have Abhishek Sharma, who is writing to us from Gurugram, holding 100 shares of Power Grid. This is at a price of 90 rupees per share, making good profit. Stock is trading at 292 right now. Wants to know if he can buy more shares. Your view on this one, Gaurang? He's already making profit on this one. He's bought it at 90 rupees, now at 292. Wants to add some more in terms of Power Grid. Would you suggest Power Grid, or are there other names also that they could look at buying?
No, there are other names, but I think in the transmission and distribution segment, Vinny, Power Grid, which is a government-owned company, has almost about 70-75% share, correct me if I'm wrong, in terms of grid line transmission. India is going to add a lot of new power generating capacities, especially when we are a power deficit country. We are into a peak summer season approaching. We are March. We've already seen temperatures of 35 and 38 degrees in Mumbai. Possibly we enter April, May, temperatures are going to rise, power consumption is going to go up. And as and when you have new additional power generating capacities coming up, you are going to need network of transmission grid lines like Power Grid has. We have been maintaining a positive stance on Power Grid for a pretty long time. If you want to add, maybe add some at current levels, you get dips, you add a little bit more. 356 is the approximate target from a long-term point of view on Power Grid.
Okay, and on the technicals, Power Grid, what would you suggest, Ashish? Can the viewer look to add at these levels right now, or wait for some bit of a correction at least?
See, if the view is from the long-term perspective, then I do not think that he should wait. He can add at the current levels, and possibly if there is a dip over short-term around the levels of around 275 or 280, then add more in that specific zone. So on the upside, the stock can move towards the level of around 325, which is also the highest volume profile area, as we can see on the chart. So the tone is positive. Add here and add more on the dips.
Okay, surely keeping an eye out on that. Keep an eye out on those levels over there. Can add on dips. That's a view coming in from both our experts as well, and a positive commentary there. But on that note, we're going to slip into a very short break, viewers, here. And some good news that we have coming in for you all. India's business news leader is now a click away, introducing CNBC-TV18's all-new Get app. Get instant access to breaking news, in-depth articles, and financial world updates at your fingertips. Download the CNBC-TV18 app now from the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, or you can just scan the QR code on your screen. Welcome back to Your Stocks on CNBC TV18. We still have our experts with us, Ashish Kyal as well as Gaurang Shah, to solve all your stock-related queries. Let's move on, and actually a quick look at the market. Sensex especially 78,000. It's about that mark, so keep an eye out on that one. Finally, we are seeing those levels coming in after a while. So Sensex is something that is managing to hold on to gain almost near the day's highest point. But moving on and keeping it going with all those queries, then this query is coming in from Varuna Sapru, who's writing to us from Jammu. She's holding 70 shares of Ireda at a price of 140 rupees per share, making some bit of a profit on this one. Is asking if this is a good prospect as an investment for her. Short-term, medium-term, long-term, no time frame. But overall, does it make sense to look at Ireda right now? Gaurang, your view coming in on this one. Today, surely the stock is buzzing away in trade, but in the last 6 months has not done much, right? So, IREDA, what is your view on this one?
I think a prudent disclosure, Vinny, when the IPO was there way back in 23, if I'm not mistaken, at 32 odd rupees, 32 or 36 rupees, we had come out with a subscribe IPO from a long-term point of view. And from that level onwards, this particular company went up to 280, 300 levels or maybe more. Then a correction in the mid-cap, small-cap universe, and this company also corrected. Incidentally, this morning itself, we have come out with a short to medium-term report on IREDA, where the target price is somewhere close to about 196. This is a techno funda stock, wherein the stop loss is somewhere close to 140 and below 140. But if you look at the fundamentals, like we were discussing about Power Grid, this is a company which provides financial backup for power generating capacities coming up, especially in the clean and green sector. Company has guided for a very strong order book, and going forward with the kind of projects that are going to come up, this company will end up benefiting of more orders coming into. Execution is also at a very good run rate. So if I have to put both these reports together, the IPO note as well as the short to medium term Technofunda report, I would say hold on to it for a long term. And precisely, if you can extend your time horizon to maybe about a year and a half, two, that would be very prudent.
Okay. Increase your time horizon to a year and a half too, then that would be a very prudent bet coming in for you. On the technicals, Ashish, what's your view coming in? Last 6 months, it's seen a correction of almost 25%. Now, obviously, she's bought it at 140 rupees. What is your view and suggestion for the viewer?
See, the overall, I think the stock is closed in upper circuit as of now, as we speak. There are no sellers to it. So the tone is right now positive. Continue to hold on to the stock here. Over short term, I think we can expect a levels of around 190 on the upside. And on the downside, today's low is going to be very important support, which is 157. So as long as 157 remains intact, I think one can expect a level of 190 on the upside.
Okay, 190 on the upside is what you're watching out for in terms of the levels over there. Let's move on to the next query for today. That is on One MobiKwik. Now, Komal is writing to us from Indore. 90 shares of One MobiKwik she's holding, and this is at a price of 275 rupees per share. Wants to know for the long term if they can continue to hold the stock. Gaurang, do you have a view coming in on One MobiKwik?
Well, Vinny, the IPO was in December of 24, correct me if I'm wrong, in the price band of 265 to 279. This is a dynamic fintech company which provides technological driven platforms for digital financial solutions, etc. On the IPO note, we had given a subscribe from a long-term point of view. So if you are a long-term investor, keeping my base on this IPO note as a subscriber recommendation, I would request to hold on to your investment.
Okay. Ashish, I know it's not much in terms of charts, but have you, managed to see anything on this front, or does this interest you as a stock or sector?
Not really, because if I look at the stock, there has been a very steep correction that we can clearly see from the highs of 700. It went to all the way toward the low of 236. And it is still struggling to show that a very smart recovery. So my recommendation is it's better to be out from something like this. Maybe Paytm can be a better choice over here. And on the upside, there is an immediate hurdle for the stock at around 357 levels. The volatility is also very high. Volumes are little erratic on the stock. So it's better to be out from here is what I think.
Okay. Let's move on to the next query then, and this one is on JSW Steel. Kunal is writing to us from New Delhi, holding 60 shares of JSW Steel. This is at a price of 970 rupees per share. Wants to know whether to hold or sell at the current levels. Gaurang, JSW Steel, these metal names surely are looking exciting. There's so much coming around it in the recent time. Does it make sense to just continue to hold on for some bit of a time?
So, hold for metals, Vinny, I would say 1.5 to 2 year plus, given the kind of, both headwinds and tailwinds. Headwinds in form of tariffs on steel and aluminum, certain steel and aluminum products in the US. Then you have some positive news flows coming in from China. Domestically, we expect an uptick in terms of consumption, and along with that, possibility of a price revision upwards on flat and long products, both HR and CR coils as well. We have a positive coverage on JSW Steel from a long-term point of view. My only concern is that, compared to other sectors, metals will require a little bit of longish investment time horizon compared to others, given the kind of global headwinds that we are facing. I hope that will be done and dusted very soon.
Okay, that's a view coming in on JSW Steel, but that was the last query for today. So thank you so much, Gaurang, as well as Ashish, for joining in with us, helping our viewers solve all those doubts as well. So thank you so much for that. Thank you so much, viewers, for sending us your queries as well. Keep sending it to us on the email address that will be flashing on the screens, and we will be taking them through the week as well. But that's all the time we have. So thank you so much for tuning in. Up next, you have Closing Bell, so don't go anywhere.